Okay, we're at 7:57. As soon as I see all council members present, I will bring us back. Okay, I think the only one I don't have is Jeremy. Council, we are live. I'm waiting one more minute to bring us back. I want to make sure we've got everybody. And then when we come back, I will turn the microphone in the beginning over to City Manager Matthias. Okay. All council members are present and we are back. At this time, since we just finished a significant portion of this, we are going to move into the council member asks. I first of all will ask City Manager Matthias and Beth Ann to give us a total of the amount of money that we're working with when we get to this page. And then the other thing, I will be working out of what is in the binder, plus anything else that may come along with it. So, but I'll start with what is in the binder. So,
Mayor, if I may quickly.
Unless the staff tells me something's been removed.
Yeah, I think what we should do is we'll put up on the
City
screen.
Manager Matthias, I cannot hear you.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Try again.
Hello.
Gotcha.
Okay. Yeah, Mayor, I think what will be best is to use the PowerPoint for the council proposals, since some of those, as I said, came in even as of yesterday, and we incorporated them into the PowerPoint. But I just confirm with, yeah, that's it. With Beth Ann, I believe we have 949,479. Beth Ann, is that your number?
No, it's 9,029,479.
Okay, that's
okay.
how
Great.
I think the question is, of the money that we were allocated, how much is currently left for council discretion?
I came up with 949,479.
Okay,
right, that's what I did.
That's what City Manager Matthias had. Okay, just wanted that on the record before we started going forward. So again, working in this mode, I will be working with the city clerk to catch hands and work on things as we go through them. So the first item that we see on the list is the establishment of a nonprofit foundation for $100,000. Wow. Is that correct? Is the bottom of that list is we have $949,000 to work with, and there are $12 million in asks on this list. So we'll have to see where we're at. So being that Councilmember Banks has her hand up, is that for a point of order?
A clarification question.
clarification?
So if we have 949,479 left, there's 12,000,007 being asked here, or 6, and we haven't gotten to community yet.
Correct, and I can't tell you that everything that's on this screen is all that will be asked. Matter of fact, I know it's not. So I think we have to go through them a line item at a time. And the council has to make decisions on each one of these.
I guess my clarifying question for you is all of this 949 supposed to be for council requests, or are we also going to look at community requests?
Okay, so we have, that's all the money there is left of the
I know,
9. Of the
I
9
know.
million. And what I'm saying is, I have to go through this with some kind of methodology. I assume that the council did hear from members of the community, and we'll speak as to these issues as we go along. But I have to follow some format. So, Councilmember Banks, to answer your question, I'm going to take it here, and we'll move through this. And I think I was told that Councilmember Martinelli had a question.
Yeah, my question, when I seconded Deputy Mayor Mahoney's motion recently, I thought it was to extend it to 9, not as a hard stop. I think that's fine if we can get it done, but my question would be, if we're hard stopping at 9, if we haven't gone through all these proposals, then what's the mechanism for doing that? Are we then carrying it into another meeting? Okay, thank you.
Yes, what will happen is, that's why we have to look at each item here and see if people are willing to accept it at the dollar amount as it is being. So what I will do is, when I read one of these items, I will ask those who put it out there to represent it. And we will just slowly work through this. I mean, but when the checkbook's empty, the checkbook's empty. So the council, I mean, the reason that I wanted Beth Ann to communicate how much money was left is we have to know what we're dealing with. The want exceeds the capacity. So we have to have reasonable discussion about that. Councilmember Harris.
Point of order, thank you. My understanding from the city manager's original presentation in July was that all proposals would be submitted by the council. I don't recall hearing any kind of community proposal brought up at the time. That seems to have been sort of a change, and I think the council should have voted to allow for that possibility. So it just seems, again, somewhat arbitrary to me.
What you have in under the council tab is some things that came in. We all saw these notices. I strongly suspect that that we all, if we check our email, are aware of these, and they will be included somewhere here. And if they're not, you can take a glance at them while somebody else is presenting and decide if you want to bring them forward.
I understand that, but the mechanism was that, so I got lots of requests from the public, and they, and it's like, okay, formulate them into a proposal in order to, move things along. By injecting the whole new category of community proposals, regardless of their merit, what it's done is it's added this whole other layer of stuff, of complexity to the system. And since there is such a small pot of money, I humbly suggest that we limit it to council member proposals.
Well, I think it's going to be limited to council member proposal anyway. The community input is for council if they want to entertain that. So
then can we agree to maybe run through everybody's proposals before voting on them? It sounded like you were saying we'd take them in a serial fashion.
I think I'll tell you what I will do. I have to find some mechanism to move through here. So what I will do is I will walk down this list and give the people whose names are on them the opportunity to explain what they're asking for, and they can reconsider their amount at that time, knowing that there's no way to possibly meet what's there. And then I will see if there's any final additions, then we will have to go back and vote. And so I'm going to pass through this twice. We won't get it all done unless people are very concise with the reason for bringing it forward and the reason for their ask, and if they are interested in changing their ask. Bottom line is, it's the only way we can manage through it, or we will never get through it. Councilmember Buxton, did you have a comment?
I collected all those community responses and recorded everything, and there's hardly a community response that is not already addressed in one of these proposals or those that we already passed. I just wanted to add that there's barely anything. Just about everybody's getting something if it all goes through. Thank you.
Okay, so this is, I'm only going to be asking the people whose names are on this to communicate to the council a bit of an understanding of what they're doing. So I'm going to walk down through this list because there's only about 10 items, and then I'm aware of potential couple others. But we'll start with it. We have Councilmember Buxton and Deputy Mayor Mahoney. They have a note here to establish a nonprofit foundation.
Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councilmember Buxton. This was solely what I described earlier, is an opportunity for some of our local nonprofits, whoever they may be, for the opportunity to submit a request for some of the monies that are available. The food bank could be one, Destination Des Moines could be another, Trouts Unlimited, etc. My big concern after hearing the cost of an independent arbitrator, of course, is the cost that would be sacrificed for the money. In this particular case, I'm not sure how we would adjudicate those funds, but that was the idea, for $100,000 to give those charities an opportunity. As Councilmember Buxton said, not from the human services piece.
So just a point of clarity on that, that would also not include the food bank in this grouping, because the food bank is included in our human services funding already at a healthy support level.
I stand corrected. Yes, that it would fit that case.
And then just for clarity, according to the original sheet, this line item was included in the administration, also included in administration, but the group, the block that we just passed did not include this $100,000, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, that's all I needed. Thank
you. Now I'm saying I believe that is correct, and because I don't want to misinform anybody, City Manager Matthias, that is correct.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. All right. Councilmember Harris, do you have a question?
Yes, Deputy Mayor Mahoney, why did you structure it as a nonprofit rather than some other?
Because I was looking at the feedback from the communications from and our organizations like Trout Unlimited and Friends of Saltwater State Park, etc. And I wanted all of them to have a chance to get some funding.
Sure.
That's simple. I was responding to community desire in my
No, I get that. I'm just wondering if there isn't some other mechanism where we could just sequester the money and vote on them, line item by line item at some point, some other point.
Well, yeah, that would be, at this point, that would be a modification.
Yeah. I'd assume there'd be a process, but only a couple applied, but a lot didn't understand that they would have the opportunity.
Fair enough.
Made a request. I'd like to give that request to them and have somebody decide.
Okay, Councilmember Buxton, ARPA administration to support the implementation of approved proposals. And you have $250,000 allocated to this?
That was by recommendation. This is just designed to pay for the administration of this gift. So it pays, it's like getting something that you receive a gift for Christmas, but then you have to invest more to make it work. That's this. So this pays for the administration of the $9 million. And if there's any supplemental help needed in data gathering or organization, that's the purpose behind this. Consultation, auditing if they need help, if finance needs help with any kind of audits, anything like that. It's just designed to help for that.
Okay, item number 3. I'm sorry, did you say something? Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Item number 3, Deputy Mayor Mahoney, airport issues support.
Yes, so after hearing the support from Mr. Edmondson's proposal, I just didn't feel that we could commit the resources to that point. What I decided to do was offer something where we treat it like the proviso we did, or the interlocal agreement on the SAMP consultant. We basically say we'll pony up $300,000 and we challenge the other cities to do the same. After that, the details can be worked out between the cities with some citizen representation, along with council, maybe representation, and even city manager, to come up with what that is, what would be contained in it, who would host the FTE if there was one, and so forth. So it was a solution that way to, like, we'll lead by putting our money out if the others will follow. If not, they get 90 days to decide. If not, the 300,000 will go to our SAMP response.
Okay, I saw Councilmember Nutting's hand. Did you have a point of order or a question?
Point of order. Point of order and a question. Councilmember Buxton's was number 3 at the workforce training scholarships and got skipped.
No,
And,
it's not on my list. I can, oh, I'm sorry. I am looking at a piece of paper and I got this thing in I will back it up. My mistake. Thank you.
And
I'm looking at the
and
document.
are we point of order is, are we voting on these as they go by, or how is this going on?
I will come back around. I'm giving people the opportunity to talk about them. And thank you for bringing that up. This is my oversight. So at this point, I'm going to, sorry, let me restructure just a sec. Okay, so the airport issues support is called government services. Okay, so workforce training scholarship, Councilmember Buxton.
This is designed to create an avenue for retraining people in the workforce. So if people have lost their jobs, or they've been, they're in a situation where they need to find a new career path, this is an agency that's already been vetted. We already support them through our Human Services Advisory Committee. So there's accountability built in. And the program structure includes outreach, engagement, training, connecting, mentoring, and it creates also a regional partnership with the Chamber, Local 242, the agency called ANEW, and even a little bit with Highline School District if a student is 18 or older. That's about all I have for now, unless somebody has more questions. It's it's a fabulous, a super high percentage of placement and puts people into a very nice career path with benefits.
Councilmember Buxton, I saw this and I was interested in asking for an amendment to add the Seattle Southside Success Foundation Workforce Discovery Lab and possibly increase the amount for by 25,000. The reason being is that your program does work with adults, and this is a complementary program that does deal with the new, and also the Highline School District, and it connects kids to high-wage, low-barrier jobs. They're direct connects, and they have corporate support like Boeing, Alaska Airlines, and Comcast. It's a complement to your program. My framework would limit it also to those in the zip code 98198, so we make sure the funds go to the local Des Moines community. Would you accept the amendment and the addition of that?
Yes, absolutely. And to add to this, this program would work the same way as well, where it would be restricted to benefit Des Moines residents only by address.
All right. Thank you. Hi, Louisa. C, do you have a question?
Are we asking questions during or after? Because if it's during, I have to go back to one that I need more explanation on.
Well, that's the whole purpose of us going down through it this time. So I'll allow that question if you want to go back to something.
Thank you. So Councilmember Buxton, can you help me understand why there needs to be an administrative support to implement the approved proposals? Do we know that staff can't do it?
No, we don't know that staff can't do it. That was a question. I just know that several cities have hired consultants to administer their ARPA resource, even cities that are smaller than we are. And I'm putting it out on the table as an offer to support our staff. And this was a recommendation, the amount. It's not really known. I don't think for sure what the amount would be or if it would be used. It's there as a placeholder. So just to supplement whatever we may need in order to administer this for the next 3 years. If it doesn't get used by the end of the time, then it can be reallocated.
So you didn't have an opportunity to talk to staff?
I did talk to a couple of staff, and that's
Mayor,
where go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, no. So Councilmember Banks, yes, we discussed this with Councilmember Buxton. We thought it was very thoughtful. If you were to use the philosophy of one more thing, this is 20 more things. And even Beth Ann and I today were talking about the possibility of engaging a grant accountant, because this is a bunch of stuff to add to finance that are working on their new financial management system, the budget, and all other kind of projects. So this was like sort of a safety mechanism in case we had to expand what our resources are to administrate all these programs. So that's the basis of it.
I appreciate that, because that's what I was trying to get at. Thank you. So Councilmember Buxton and Mayor Pina, you're combining your requests now with this workforce training scholarship?
They overlap.
They overlap.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, Deputy Mayor Mahoney, I apologize, but I got a little distracted. I think I heard you say something about 300,000 for support for government services because of community requests. Can you talk a little bit more about this?
So what I was doing was taking Mr. Edmondson's basic proposal and the foundation of that, with the idea that the proposal was for $1.5 million and an FTE that the city fund and lead a charge with airport concerns. I said to treat it like a proviso or the ILA, and ask that we challenge our other cities to do the same, and then come up with a representative that can represent us all in the same concerns. How that would be detailed out in the money, if those other cities will play, could be discussed by citizen representatives, council, and city managers to figure out that, and an ILA would be drafted. And whoever, say, if there was FTEs, whichever city might want to house them, and I'd be great if it was us, that would be done. So the idea was to fulfill that request, but do it with multiple city cooperation.
How would that fit into what we already have
Well,
uh,
it's in addition
implemented.
to support. The fact is that cities didn't, then we could use the additional $300,000 in SAMP response.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Thank you. For some reason, did you say
Yeah.
that earlier? Because
The idea is I have the belief that we need to work together.
okay,
But we would definitely love to lead the charge, but let's share the cost with the other cities.
all right.
Money's
Thank
at a
you.
premium, make
Yeah.
nobody happy, but this was a solution where we could achieve what was heavily supported in our community and be able to get the funding to do so.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so we are down. Let's see if I've got this right. We are.
Mayor, may I ask a question?
Sure.
About that, going back to the legal fund. So, Deputy Mayor, to what purpose do you expect using that 300,000? In other words, would it be like for court costs or for consultants, or, I mean, do you have something specific in mind?
The best I can tell you, because again, I don't have a crystal ball either, would be maybe consultants or some of the port issues, just as you described.
Okay.
But the whole idea was to pony up to try to make something bigger out of where everybody contributes some to make a whole.
Sure. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so see if I've got this correct. We are at the small business grants put forward by Councilmember Martinelli for 500,000.
Thank you, Mayor. This was already addressed and voted on in the city manager's recommendations.
Okay, so I will cross this out. And the tenant eviction, I won't skip. I'll stay on where I'm at. The next is the utility voucher.
Thank you, Mayor. I think this is pretty important because on the county, state, and federal level, there are not enough resources in regards to utility shutoffs. A lot of the focus has been on the eviction resources, although that also hasn't been enough. The eviction or the utility shutoff moratorium ends in about 2 weeks. So I think that this would help to prevent some people and families from having their water or their power shut off. So that's why I think this is an important issue.
And the ask on that was 250,000. Okay.
Correct.
Tenant eviction was your next one, but that passed in the block where we increased it.
Yeah, that was also already addressed, yes.
Okay, so I'm going to cross that one out. Then the next one I see on here is marina development materials. Councilmember Harris for 20,000.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, so what I have heard over and over from the community is that they have found the Marina Draft Master Plan to be very confusing to visualize what the marina is going to look like. And, you know, I've heard dozens of people say we want town halls and we want community engagement, but it occurred to me that even if you provided that kind of thing now, people need to know what it looks like. And so I have looked at, if anyone has ever bought a house recently, you can take a virtual tour now, or if you buy commercial real estate, you can get a flyover. There are media companies that prepare these kinds of animations, and it would allow the public and all of us to see how the marina is going to look over time. You know, things like what it's going to be like to have boats moving in and out of dry stack, people coming down the steps, from the ferry into parking. It's just a great way for everyone to get an idea of what this is, how it's all going to work over time. This is sufficient money to create an initial set of media and then update it over 2 years or so as the project develops, because obviously there are so many moving parts at this point.
Okay, everybody clear?
Mayor, may I make a comment?
Please.
Hopefully Councilmember Harris has reviewed our marinasteps.com website that has a drone tour of the city, that has renderings of what's planned for the marina floor. This is, potentially a useful resource, but certainly needs to avoid being redundant of what already exists.
Yeah, well, I don't think it's in any way redundant because there are just so many aspects of, for example, the APB. What is the floor going to look like if you move SR3 into the APB, or if you have dry stack in there? Just how is it all going to work? And I think the public would be well served by being able to see, oh, okay, that's how it's going to look a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now.
Okay, I think that's a good representation of your intent.
Thank you.
The next one is the Director of Environmental Affairs, where you're asking for $1 million.
Yeah, this is sort of in, so I do not believe in the shared approach in terms of the airport. Over the decades, the history of SeaTac is that the various cities have tried to come together to work on airport issues. And the truth is, it sounds like really wonderful, hands across the sea and so on. But to be honest, we have very different strategic interests. It's just a fact. And if you look at the third runway as a model for how that resolved itself, it basically was that Des Moines took it in the neck environmentally and did not really get value for money. It would be better for us to have our own person who can lobby and who can hold the port to account. And,
Okay.
and so, yeah, in 25 words or less, we are on our own when it comes to airport negotiations.
Okay, and the next item you proposed without a dollar amount was the second shuttle for Metro.
Yeah, I can provide a dollar amount. It's $125,000 contingent upon getting a match from King County. I propose to see about getting a second shuttle for people in the South End to traverse Marine View Drive down to Highline College. We've got a lot of seniors and people who want to be able to get to the marina, just like they do with a 605.
Okay, but it is important to note to the council that the funding for the existing shuttle was approved in the block.
Yeah, well, this is a second, this is.
I'm not arguing with it. I'm just making sure that people know what was approved in the block. Your next item, Mr. Councilmember Harris, is you wanted to spend $9 million on dock replacement.
Yeah.
I want to point out, we are only dealing with $949,000. So
No, yeah, and so just in 15 seconds or less, it's sort of the kind of thing where if you could put 20% down on your house, you'd pay it off in 30 years. But if you could put 40% down, you'd pay it off a lot faster and save the taxpayers a ton of money. That was the intent. Moving on.
okay, and then you have a business marketing fund of $1 million.
That actually, I would like to, with all due respect to the city manager, I would like us to have our own, a separate economic development person, a little bit different from other cities in that I think we need to be working on basically recruiting restaurants. And I see the existing, not just restaurants, but I see existing businesses struggle. They just don't have a lot of the basics to be successful and essentially persist over time. I don't know what it is, but they seem to need hand-holding, and it's in the city's interest to do that. Anyway, it's too much money, so never mind.
Are there, based on, and I'm just asking, based on the dollar amounts, is there anyone, and I'd have to do it by hand, but is there anyone who looks at anything they proposed and would you either like to reduce the amount before we go for the motion, or would you like to eliminate it? the idea. I see Councilmember Harris and Councilmember Nutting. Councilmember Harris?
Yes, I would like to amend my proposal for environmental strategist to 3 years, which would knock it down to $600,000.
Okay. Councilmember Nutting?
Mine's just a point of order. Are you going to call for the vote on every single one of these?
Have to.
I'm sorry.
Yes.
Okay, then I'm fine. Thank you.
Okay. So I'm going to take us back. You've all, did anybody else want to change any amount of money or anything like that? Councilmember Buxton?
Well, it depends on what gets passed and what order you address these issues. If one passes, let's say if one doesn't, then all of a sudden you could have between $1 and $300,000 then to move down the line to the next thing. So that's where, so I'm tempted to say, well, I would be willing to reduce one of these, commensurate with the passing of something else that's important. So it's
Maybe the right approach is to have people, I'll just call for motions. That the hard part is I can't see the full screen. Would the council be amenable? I'm working off what I've just written down from our discussion. We have 12 items. Nope, we're down to 10 because 2 were already dealt with. And so if anybody would like to make a motion, we can start to have discussion on things. So I saw Councilmember Martinelli and Councilmember Harris. So I'll start with Councilmember Martinelli.
Thank you, Mayor. I would like to motion to establish a $250,000 utility voucher program.
Is there a second?
Yeah.
Okay, so the voucher program, Martinelli with Harris seconding. Discussion. Councilmember Harris.
I just want to let my colleague, Councilmember Martinelli, know that because this is so tight, I doubt I would vote for this. However, if the emergency transitional housing, if that had not passed, I definitely would have supported this. I think this is actually a far more efficient use of emergency funding. And I wish that this had been on the main block, because basically the utility districts, they know who is in need. They've got accounts receivable. We write them a check and pow, you've got relief. There's no administration cost and so on. So in principle, it just pains me that I can't vote for everything, but I want you to know, bless you, your heart's in the right place, man.
Councilmember Banks.
Well, I'm looking at this list and I'm just going to make a comment. If we stopped at the Councilmember Harris's Marina Redevelopment Community Presentation Materials, if we stop there, this 949, 479 would support everything above that. Just a note. Everything below that, it makes no sense to me because you're not going to get that money. And I believe that the utility voucher fund is something that is needed. I do believe that. How we actually have it happen, I don't know. But again, if we just stopped at that 20,000 and added everything above that, everything would pass. But that's just my comment.
Mayor, if I may.
Please.
So if we're on the margin relative to the total, there's probably ways that as we construct the budget, we can look at ways at covering things that are marginally cost that may exceed the 949, depending. So you know, I
I-
think we could get to where you're saying, Councilmember Bangs. I don't know
Well-
much beyond that, but
If I could, Beth Ann, I'm seeing the nonprofit foundation at 100,000, ARPA admin at 250. So now I'm at 350. Government services support at another 300. So now I'm at 650. The workforce training at 125. So that's 775. But when I get to the utility voucher, that's 250. So that's now 970. That's 1,025,000. Am I correct?
Am I missing something? Where's the 175?
I think you're going off of is that what's in the book versus what's on the screen?
I don't see anything on the
Let
screen.
me see those totals, because actually, Councilmember Bangs, if you're correct, I would actually make the motion that we vote on those as a block. So I saw for the nonprofit foundation, $100,000.
Yeah,
If I came down to the ARPA admin, that's 250.
yeah,
Right?
Airport or the workforce training was 100 that we amended to 125.
oh, okay,
That's only 25,000 different though. That's not a big
right,
thing.
right, okay,
Then the airport government services, where did I see airport issues support? That was 300,000. And the utility voucher fund at 250, and then 20 at the marina redevelopment materials. So if I total those up, I guess the one thing is if we could reduce the ARPA admin to 200K, then you've got 3, 6, 7, 25, 925, you got 975.
okay.
So
I would reduce it again, another 25.
actually, and wait a sec, to add the 20K, wait a second, almost there, guys, we might. 170, okay. Say what? Okay, well, I've got us. Sorry, folks. We have an opportunity to get this done tonight, so I want to try this. So I will recognize someone in just a minute. Okay. Actually, if we take the ARPA admin to 150,000, we will come in at 945,000. We can keep everything else the same. If we had the nonprofit foundation at 100,000, ARPA admin at 150,000, government issues support at 300,000, workforce training at 125, utility voucher at 250, and marina development materials at 20K, we can do this at and make it. I
Mayor?
see, now can I see hands? Okay, so I've got Harris, I've got Nutting, and who else? Okay, I see hands from Councilmember Harris and then Councilmember Nutting. Councilmember Harris?
Thank you, Mayor. So I would propose to amend my proposal for environmental strategist to 2 years, which is $400,000, and substitute that for the support for government services. And then, so that's, okay, so that's one thing. And then,
I have to do, okay.
hang on, and then
All right.
instead of the foundation, simply fund the 2 proposals from Saltwater, Friends of Saltwater, and Trout Unlimited, which is about $10,000. And so that gets you under the cap.
So okay. we don't have a motion that we're working on. I understand that you're willing to drop your motion on the table, but we haven't talked about where people feel about things. So
I understand. I just don't want it to be like, hey, we took the first 6 items and chop, that's.
oh, I'm sorry. So at this point, Councilmember Martinelli, we have your motion on the table for 250,000. But if you withdraw that motion, we can work at a block. And right now that full 250 would be considered in that block.
Yeah, I'm willing to withdraw the motion.
Okay. So now we don't have a motion on the table, but, and there will be discussion, but I think we have an opportunity. I'm going to make a motion, because I just ran the numbers on here, that we vote as a block for the nonprofit foundation, the ARPA admin, the airport government services issue support, the workforce training program with the Discovery Lab amendment, and the utility voucher, and the new development materials for the marina as a block. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, I saw hands.
Give it to Councilmember Martinelli.
Councilmember Martinelli, was that your voice? I'm sorry, I couldn't see your hand.
It
Okay.
was, yes.
Okay, so I have the motion to vote on these as a block. And I made the motion and Councilmember Martinelli seconded.
So Mayor, could you go over those numbers one more time, please?
Yes, I will. The nonprofit foundation is at $100,000.
All right,
The ARPA admin is at 150,000.
okay,
The government's, I don't know, I don't think I have the right name. The government issues service support at 300,000.
okay,
The workforce training at 125,000.
okay,
The utility voucher at 250,000.
okay,
And the marina development materials at 200,000.
okay. 200,000?
I'm sorry,
20,000.
You mean
20K, my
20.
mistake. I'm sorry, one
That's
extra
all right.
zero, and that'll really mess things up. I apologize.
Okay,
Hey,
so
hey,
100, oh, go ahead.
hold on,
Jeremy.
man. I've been waiting very patiently,
I can't
and
see you,
I
Jeremy.
gotta say something. So,
Okay.
what is the purpose for creating another FTE to the funds?
Are you talking about admin of the funds?
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't get that. Another $150,000 or $200,000. I'm not understanding where that's coming from.
Okay, and let me say, we have a motion on the table and you're asking the question at the right time. This is the point of discussion. So the question has been asked on the ARPA admin. Why would we spend $150,000 on that? Councilmember Buxton, I see City Manager Matthias's hand.
Yeah, two points. So one, in regards to that, given all of the diverse expenditures, Councilmember Nutting, we don't know what that will involve relative to staff support to make those things happen. I mean, on the first block, relative to social services, healthcare, tenant eviction, protection, all of those are going to involve contracts that involve time, city attorney, myself, others, finance department, establishing scopes of work, making sure that compliance occurs, making sure we report to the feds in a timely and complete manner. So we don't know what those costs are going to be. And I appreciated Councilmember Buxton just setting aside a pot of money that we could utilize as we go forward. And if it's more than we need, that can go back into the fund. If it's less than we need, we'll come back to council. So that was the basis of that. And while I have the floor, I'll just ask a quick question. Deputy Mayor Mahoney, am I correct in understanding that the $300,000 from the city would only be spent upon the agreement of the other 5 cities to participate in the fund?
The understanding is that we prefer that they participate to make the money effective to do what was initially intended If not, the $300,000 would go to our response to the SAMP and any additional funding you needed in that area.
Okay, fair enough. Councilmember Nutting, does that answer your question?
It does. I appreciate that. I just wish it was conveyed in that manner.
Okay. Sorry.
Okay. Okay, Councilmember Harris.
So, yeah, I would like to move to have my proposal amended for environmental strategist, replace the government services thing and get chopped down to 2 years. So that's 400,000. And then take the foundation and simply replace that with the 2 grants applications that we received from Saltwater, Friends of Saltwater, and Trout Unlimited. So basically 410,000 replaces 400,000.
Okay, so you're making a motion to remove the government services
Yes,
for 300,
yes,
and then you're making the motion to remove the nonprofit
yes,
and to replace for 100,000 and to replace those
That.
2 with the environmental strategist.
yes, for 400,000. And the 2 public proposals we received from Friends of Saltwater and Trout Unlimited, which total about 10,000. Sorry, it's simpler than it sounds. It's 410 versus 400.
Okay. So we have a motion to remove the government services for 300K.
And may I say something in support of what I'm proposing?
No, because you don't even have a second yet.
Okay,
So
fair
please
enough.
wait. We have a motion by Councilmember Harris to make this removal and change. Is there a second? Seeing no second, this fails for lack of a second. So that takes us, is there further discussion on the block at hand? I actually would like to, if Councilmember Martinelli is amenable, if because of the ARPA administration costs being unknown and because the customer base for Friends of Saltwater and the Trout, oh God, Trout's Unlimited, total $10,000. If we reduced the ARPA admin from 150 to 140, we could add those 2 items for 10K and we would still be within our budget and again, satisfy the needs of the public as well as what we are asking for in this block. Would you accept this, Councilmember Martinelli, as a friendly amendment?
I would, but that was actually Councilmember Buxton's proposal.
I understand that, but I made the motion and you seconded it. So I'm asking, would you
I
consider
see.
the amendment?
Yes, I would, yes.
So it's
Mayor?
that has been amended. Now I will start discussion again.
Mayor? If I may.
Sure, and then I have to go to Councilmember Bangs and Councilmember Buxton.
I just want to make a comment. I think that going into the specifics, so that the Trout Unlimited, I'm not convinced that we can relate the water temperature of that stream to COVID relief. However, since it's a small amount, I think it's something that we could find that amount of money for. As far as the saltwater, their website, the only problem was the proposal they submitted extended beyond the time frame that the ARPA is in effect. So we'd be happy to work with them on finding a pot of money for that $7,500, be it from the nonprofit or wherever. But I would be hesitant for council to pass a response to a proposal that was not in compliance with the law as it's currently stated.
Thank you for bringing that to my attention. That could render something invalid. So Councilmember Martinelli, I'm going to withdraw my friendly amendment.
Okay.
Are you okay? So that's withdrawn. We continue as stated with that amount at 150K.
8 minutes.
Okay, we have 8 minutes. Councilmember Bangs, I believe you had your hand up.
Well, now that it's been withdrawn, I'm fine now.
Okay, Councilmember Buxton, you had your hand up.
Same thing, just the complications of wording
Okay, thank you.
individual.
Okay. With that, all those in favor of the block motion as it stands and the amount allocations, please raise your hand until I call your name. I see Councilmember Nutting, myself, Deputy Mayor Mahoney, Councilmember Buxton, and Councilmember Bangs and Councilmember Martinelli. Opposed? Councilmember Harris. Passes 6-1. Folks, we got it done. Congratulations to the council. Congratulations to the community. This is excellent, excellent work. We are down to, oh boy. We are down to 6 minutes and our agenda is not complete in that we would have introduction of items for future consideration, council reports, and there is clearly not time to do that. So at this time, I would ask for a motion to adjourn and to forego these items.
Yes.
I have a motion to adjourn and forego these following items by Councilmember Bangs, the second by Councilmember Nutting. Is that correct? Okay. All those in favor, please raise your hand until I call your name. Councilmember Martinelli, Councilmember Bangs, Councilmember Buxton, Deputy Mayor Mahoney, myself, and Councilmember Nutting. Opposed? Councilmember Harris. We are adjourned. This passes 6-1. Ladies and gentlemen, we will see you again on October 7th for a regular city council meeting. We are adjourned. Thank you for your time tonight.